Diamond P Sports presents from the National Hot Rod Association Championship Drag Racing, the 1987 Budweiser Spring National. Speeds in excess of 275 miles an hour, covering the quarter-mile distance in less than 6 seconds. Drag racing from the NHRA. The National Hot Rod Association's $1 Million 14-event tour starts in February in California. The most recent event, number 4 in the series, was held in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In an area full of history and colorful legends, the Cajun Nationals added its own brand of history to the region. At State Capitol Dragway, Dick LaHaye was the champion in a hotly contested top fuel field. In one of the closest races of the year, LaHaye put his skills on the line against Joe Amato and won by a matter of inches. Kenny Bernstein continued to be the dominant force in funny car competition with almost clock-like regularity. Bernstein's Buick LeSabre advanced into the finals to race against Johnny West. Again, Bernstein's awesome power and mechanical perfection provided the margin of victory for his 3rd win this season. Butch Leal of Blacklick, Ohio, has been in the forefront of pro stock competition throughout the 4 races thus far this year. Leal's victory over Bruce Allen in the Cajun Nationals finals was his 2nd win this season, giving him the lead in the World Championship Series. Now we move to the 5th stop of the season, and that brings us to the heart of the Midwest, Columbus, Ohio, the capital of the state. Columbus is well known as the home of the famed Ohio State University Buckeyes, and for the past 16 years, nearby National Trail Raceway has been hosting the NHRA Spring National. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and welcome to National Trail Raceway, located near Columbus, Ohio. This is the 23rd annual running of the NHRA Spring Nationals, and since this event was moved to National Trail back in 1972, it's enjoyed a constant growth pattern. That culminated into today's huge standing room only crowd. Well, what attracts these tens of thousands of spectators? The very best drag racers in the country, competing for nearly $750,000 in prize money. For more on this huge crowd and other excitement from the Spring Nationals, here's Steve Evans.
David, not only are the grandstands packed, but so is the area around Shirley Muldowney's car. You'll recall that Shirley's first big league drag race victory came right here at National Trail. A lot of these people remember that, and they're sensing maybe another one here today. Because in round number 1, even though the pink car smoked the tires badly, Shirley ran darn near top speed of the meet with an elapsed time among the best as she defeated Eddie Hill. She looked like a confident woman when I talked to her. Blisters on the center of the tire on Shirley Muldowney's car tell you only one thing. This car was never really hooked up the entire quarter mile, yet still Shirley, round 1, 549, a big speed, 265.
Oh, that shows it's making a lot of horsepower. We're going to have to find out why these tires are blistering like that. I don't know. I think the racetrack's being a little hard on us all this weekend.
It's going to be a tricky track as far as clutch and power.
Very tricky to get everything right, so hopefully that computer will give us, what we're looking for.
You're back on the track for sure.
And so, thank you.
But all these fans that can will find a seat in the stands for round number 2, a classic. Shirley Muldowney against the world's quickest Daryl Gwen. Ron Tobler on Shirley's car, it's almost ready to go. Just plain maintenance. Over in the Gwen's pits, a new engine has been installed because in round number 1, he destroyed a motor so badly, beating Don Garlitz, it will never see duty again. In funny car, of course, all the heroes are here. The Bernsteins, the Forces, the McCullough. But my favorite winner in round number 1 earlier today was D.A. Santucci. You'd have thought he won the U.S. Nationals or the World Championship. Well, you wouldn't know it was only round 1 down here. For a guy like D.A. Santucci, who only runs a couple of races a year, when you beat a U.S. Nationals champion in round 1, big one.
Well, I had a gamble, and that's what I did, and we've been running in the 90s all weekend, and this is just fantastic. I didn't expect to be this far anyway, Steve.
90s wouldn't mean a darn thing to a Kenny Bernstein, but to a guy like you that runs so conservatively, that's a great number.
Yeah, for here it is today, especially with the humidity the way it is, We're going to try to do it again.
We'll be down here.
Thank you, Steve.
D.A. or Dominic Santucci, the winner of the Old Top Gas title at the U.S. Nationals back in 1969, enjoying his best day since that time. Now we're ready for round number 2 of Top Fuel Eliminator. A huge overflow crowd is jammed into National Trail Raceway on this hot and muggy afternoon to watch the best in drag racing battle it out for the Spring Nationals title. Joe Amato, currently the points leader in the championship series, has had an outstanding season thus far. He has been in the final round of every NHRA race contested. His competition, Mike Brotherton from Tulsa, Oklahoma. A newcomer into the sport of championship drag racing, Brotherton came onto the scene about 8 months ago and now making a fine showing here in round number 2. Both cars staging very carefully. The starting line controlled by that electronic device known as the Christmas tree. It tells them when it's time to go. Brotherton leaves too soon. You saw the red light on the Christmas tree. That indicates Brotherton is disqualified. He left the line too early, giving the win automatically to Amato, who still ran 259 miles an hour. For Brotherton, his racing day is over. The 1987 Spring Nationals is being brought to you by Ford. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Goodyear. Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more good years in your car. And by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. In the Kenny Bernstein pit area, the crew hard at work preparing that racing engine for round number 2 of funny car competition, when it will be Kenny Bernstein against Don Brudeau. We'll be coming right back with more round number 2 Top Fuel action at the Spring Nationals. National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio, and a standing room only crowd is bearing the heat, enjoying all the excitement. This is a beautiful facility, but it has one minor problem. It is relatively short. In years past, we have talked about the problems that can create. So for a report on the solutions, here's Steve.
Today, I'm at the tidy farm home of Herb White in Union Township, Ohio, where Herb is setting a new standard in yard decoration. Now, he's not into those cute little ceramic deers or the concrete bunnies or the funny-looking little jockey statues. Herb has got a 3-row high guardrail slashing right across his front yard. Now, it's only available in one decorator color, galvanized, but it does keep those pesky hot rodders across the street whose parachutes don't work from T-boning his house. Now, so far, Herb hasn't had any visitors because NHRA's new improved safety pit has swallowed up all who have tried, including the funny car of Steve Hodkinson. Well, Steve Hodkinson is out of the car and obviously okay. He came into the sand pit probably about 50 or 60 miles an hour. It's really more of a gravel pit than it is sand. And you can see here the digging the gravel away from the front spoiler. And this car appears to really need nothing but a good wash job. Actually, NHRA installs this railing the day before the race and removes it the day after and even resods the lawn. Now, as far as Mr. White is concerned, finally he's gotten to know enough racers and officials. He's become an actual member of the safety team. Welcome aboard. Oh, a tip to you racers, if you do get over here, don't get out of your car until Herb locks up the dog.
Steve, we must realize, of course, that very few racers ever come close to that gravel pit at the end of the racetrack or Mr. White's farmhouse. On the starting line, it's Top Fuel Eliminator, round number 2. Dick LaHaye, our most recent champion, matched against Frank Bradley. Bradley has been in the winner's circle at NHRA national events twice. Starting back in 1976, he won the Winter Nationals Championship. In 1984, Bradley was the Top Fuel champ at the Summer Nationals. At the age of 45, Dick LaHaye is a newlywed. He used the weekend between the Cajun Nationals and the Spring Nationals to marry his new bride, Claudia. Frank Bradley has already staged. Now you see Dick LaHaye rolling forward and staging, and LaHaye pulls ahead at the start. At the finish line, by many car lengths, Dick LaHaye wins it with a new track record, 5.38 seconds at over 262 miles an hour. Our next pair of cars already started and rolling forward into the water box. This is Gary Ormsby. As you may recall, Ormsby used to campaign a full-bodied streamliner. But in a quest for better performance, he did away with the streamlined body and converted the car to a more conventional top-fuel dragster. This is the man from Fort Worth, Texas, that was one of the premier funny car racers. In fact, he won the Spring Nationals in 1974 in that category. That's Gene Snow. Gary Ormsby won his only national event title back in 1984 when he took home the Winter Nationals crown. Now Ormsby, with his more conventional dragster that is considerably lighter than the old Streamliner, is racing against Gene Snow, who is still utilizing some of the aerodynamic tricks, the canopy over the cockpit and the small front wheel. Snow smokes the tires violently, losing traction. He regains control as Ormsby streaks across the finish line. His crew chief Lee Beard very pleased with that 5:48, 259-mile-an-hour effort, while Snow disappointed after smoking the tires in the lane nearest the camera. As you recall, Shirley Muldowney in her race smoked her tires in the lane furthest from the camera. So the heat and humidity today providing that very tricky racing surface confronting all of the competitors.
We talked so much last year about your Streamliner. We're sorry to not see it around. It was so pretty, but was it weight totally? Is that the problem with those kind of cars?
That was the biggest problem, Steve. We gave up 110 pounds there, and you just can't do that. This car is a lot easier to work with, and it's lighter, and it just works better.
Indeed it does. See in the semis against Joe Amato. That'll be a drag race.
Ormsby obviously pleased with the performance of his car and the reuniting of the team of Ormsby and his crew chief Lee Beard. This is Darrell Gwynn. He is the quickest driver in all of drag racing. This car at a wheelbase of 294 inches is the longest car currently in competition in drag racing. Gwynn is racing against the leading female driver in all of motorsports, Shirley Muldowney. 17 times she has won an NHRA title, 4 times the Spring Nationals Championship. Darrell Gwynn, at the age of 25, already has 5 victories to his credit. Don't forget there's more at stake here than just the victory in this round. The elapsed time recorded will determine which driver has the choice of lanes in the semifinal pairing. And the racetrack strikes again. Shirley Muldowney smokes the tires. Darrell Gwynn with a haze of smoke off of his tires, but a good elapsed time. 5.46 seconds at 252 miles an hour for Shirley. Once again, the tires smoking, losing traction, and this time it cost her the race. That sets up our semifinal round. Darrell Gwynn against Dick LaHaye. LaHaye with that track record 5:38, having the lane choice. And here Gary Ormsby races Joe Amato, and Ormsby having the all-important choice of lane. Now it's time for Funny Car Eliminator. This is Mark Oswald at the wheel of the Candies in Hughes Thunderbird. And he is racing the upset king of this meet, D.A. Dominic Santucci. The engine coming to life and the fiberglass body ready to be dropped down. The crew on Santucci's car, he's not a touring pro. This is sort of a pickup crew. By that I mean, when Santucci goes to a racetrack, he finds his help at that facility. Of course, both drivers have got to be concerned about the racetrack. We have seen tire smoking performances in both lanes. In the first round, when Santucci upset Mike Dunn, he may have had his car tuned for slightly less power, thus no tire smoke. For Mark Oswald, the 1984 world champion, the Candies and Hughes team noted for making lots of horsepower. Obviously, 2 separate philosophies are at work here on the starting line. Which one will prevail is still a matter of question. Dominic Santucci, the lane nearest the camera. Mark Oswald in the far lane. And more tire smoke, this time in the far lane of the track. Oswald has to shut off. Santucci with another big upset win and a great elapsed time, 5.80 seconds. For Mark Oswald, he just saw a reversal of the racetrack. We had seen Gene Snow smoke the tires violently in the lane nearest the camera. Now it was Oswald's turn, but it moved over to the lane furthest from the camera. There you can see the tire smoke, the loss of traction that cost him the race.
Well, you think this man was excited. First round, wait till I tell him that he ran a 580.
Oh, Steve, this is fantastic. I'd kiss you, Steve. Let me give some
I'll
thanks
pass
to my
on
guy.
that.
I got a Yellow Pages crew here, and they're just spastic about this, and I am too. I think we thought we hurt the motor, but here a hose come off. So we got a super lot of cleaning to do.
This has to be the most exciting day for you since about 1969 back at Indy.
Yes, that, and just a lot of help from a lot of people. And may I say, a phone call to Dale last night. tonight. That's really helped. Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
It's just backside, that's all.
Dominic Santucci referring to a telephone call to the leading crew chief in funny car racing, the crew chief on Kenny Bernstein's car, Dale Armstrong, who offered some words of encouragement. In the Joe Amato pit area, crew chief Tim Richards is bent over the motor performing his work as he directs the activities of that entire crew. Not only do they have to confront the tricky racetrack, but the incredible heat and humidity as well here at Columbus, Ohio. Raceway near Columbus, Ohio, the Budweiser Spring Nationals continues in the Darrell Gwynn pit area. The work proceeding on that 2,500 horsepower racing engine, getting it ready for the next race against Dick LaHaye. You have to know that these crewmen have got to be concerned about the traction of the racetrack, more so possibly than actually making horsepower. On the starting line, our continuation of round number 2 of funny car competition finds Jim Head of Columbus, Ohio, a hometown boy, in the lane furthest from the camera. In the near lane, it is Tom Hoover. Hoover, a longtime competitor in funny car and top fuel racing, his biggest win coming in 1979 at the Winter Nationals. Jim Head, a civil engineer, has 3 national event victories to his credit, and he's put some of his engineering expertise towards his drag racing.
Timing is everything in drag racing. There's elapsed time, there's reaction time, and in the case of engineer Jim Head's funny car, there's timers. Let me show you inside Jim's computer box. There they are, 10 relatively simple, inexpensive industrial timers. A little knob on each, and they can time from 0 to 10 seconds. Now, one of those is connected to the lockup clutch so that it locks up a 1.5 seconds after the car leaves the starting line. Another is hooked to the transmission so that it shifts 4.5 seconds into the run. And others accomplish various aspects of the fuel system, things Jim no longer has to do from the cockpit so that he can concentrate on driving. All of these timers are activated when the throttle pedal is fully depressed and touches a little button, and the solenoids up front handle the actual functions of the timers. Now, there's a few other timers in the pits, but nobody's got 10 of them.
Steve kind of makes you wonder what's coming next as progress continues in the sport of championship drag racing. Jim Head with all those timers in the far lane, Tom Hoover in the near lane. And Hoover smokes the tires. The lanes have switched again. Now it's the lane nearest the camera losing traction. Jim Head smoking an engine a little bit as he crossed the finish line, but he wins the race and goes into the semifinals with a 5.92 second elapsed time. At the starting line, this is Ed McCulloch. If anybody can figure out a tricky racing service, it is McCulloch, with over 25 years, a quarter of a century of racing experience. Against him is Billy Meyer. He started driving a funny car at the age of 16. He has never driven another type of car in competition. Now at the age of 33, Billy Meyer has a total of 10 national event victories to his credit. Meyer hailing from Waco, Texas. McCulloch, with 8 national event victories to his record, has experience in both the funny car and dragster competition. Meyer's got another problem. They had to change engines between rounds as he had motor problems against Ron Dudley in the first round. A big question mark in the engine compartment, and this racetrack providing its own question. But both cars locked to the pavement. A great race. Billy Meyer pulls it out at the finish line. A 586, 250-mile-an-hour charge. The losing time for McCulloch, a 581. He actually got there quicker, but the advantage off the starting line went to Billy Meyer. He left the starting line before McCulloch. Just look at this race. As they neared the finish line, McCulloch began to pull back on Meyer, but the racetrack at only a quarter of a mile was not quite long enough for McCulloch. The win went to Billy Meyer at a 586.
Well, that victory belongs to the driver, Billy Meyer. You ran a little bit slower, but you're going to the semis anyway.
I needed one after the Cajun Nationals. I was 800s late, if you remember.
Well, he was exactly 800s off the pace you just set on the starting line, and the car ran dry and looks like he got something to work with.
Yeah, we threw the rods out on that first one, so that was a brand new motor, so it's nice at least to get a full run in to see where to start. Thank you.
Billy Meyer with his best showing thus far this season. In the burnout area, the one man that has this racetrack figured out. The number 1 qualifier, Kenny Bernstein, ran an incredible 5.69 seconds elapsed time. in the first round. But his competition is also a veteran of this sport. This is the man that has won 4 World Championship titles consecutively. This is Don Prudhomme. He is number 2 on the all-time win list with a total of 35 national event victories to his credit. Kenny Bernstein, the reigning world champion for the 2nd year in a row, has won a total of 20 victories in his career. But look at the smoke. There's smoke coming out of Bernstein's car. Very unusual, as this car normally is mechanically flawless. But now smoke beginning to come out of the header pipes on each side of the car. The crew looking over from the rear, Jeff's car, checking what's coming out of the headers. He doesn't like what he sees. Out in front of the car is the crew chief, Dale Armstrong. He is walking back to take a look also. And for Kenny Bernstein, some real problems set in. The word going to Don Prudhomme to bring it to the starting line as they shut Kenny Bernstein off. It will be a single for Prudhomme, and what a switch. Prudhomme takes a single as mechanical problems put Kenny Bernstein out of competition. Prudhomme still with a fine 587. He's trying for the lean choice in the semifinals. This is something you don't see happen very often. Mechanical problems putting Kenny Bernstein out of competition. As the world champion climbs from the car, you know there's got to be disappointment. In spite of the low qualifying time and the brilliant time in the first round, a broken car is called a halt to Kenny Bernstein's racing day. These 2 drivers continue into the semifinals. Billy Meyer against Don Prudhomme, with Meyer having lane choice, and the surprising Dominic Santucci has lane choice over Jim Head. Let's go to the pits and Steve Evans.
On my usual tour of the Sportsman pits, I stopped dead in my tracks when I saw this beautiful supergasser. It's an 87 Buick Somerset Regal. Now back here, where you usually find a fuel cell full of racing gasoline, well, there is a tank full of natural gas packed in there at 2,400 pounds of pressure. Now it is fed up to the engine compartment, where things look considerably different than they would with the usual carbureted motor. Now through a series of regulators, including these banjo-looking affairs, it is fed into what they call mixers, bolted to a typical high-rise manifold. At this point, the pressure is only 3 ounces, the same you cook with at home. Also, the fuel has to be preheated so it doesn't frost up everything like it does the top of the tank on your home barbecue. Now, why has the car owner Joe Mesquita gone to all this trouble to be different? Well, Joe has spent 20 years as a production supervisor with East Ohio Gas and truly believes in this fuel as being slow burning and clean burning. In fact, to the point they can run 15-to-1 compression in the engine. Driver Sam Park had some problems. This is a brand new car in the first round and was defeated. But right now, let's take a look at the drivers that did make it into the Supergas finals. And oh, by the way, this was selected Best Engineered Car.
Steve, earlier today in our sportsman category of competition, the Supergas finalists included Sheldon Gecker in the near lane against Tom Seaman in the far lane. As you saw that red light glowing on the Christmas tree, that indicated a disqualification for Gecker. The win automatically went to Thomas Seaman, and the Supergas championship was his. The Supergas division, one of 8 sportsman categories contested at the Spring Nationals, involving over 600 race cars. The top alcohol dragster champion, Bill Barney. Top alcohol funny car winner, Al DePozo. Competition eliminator, David Nickens. Superstock, Jim Baburka. Stock eliminator was David Young. Supercomp, Steve Cohen. And Super Street winner, Robert Turner. Back in the pit area, the hometown favorite, Jim Head, in funny car competition, has attracted a throng of onlookers as he gets ready for his semifinal race against the amazing Dominic Santucci. We'll be coming right back to the Spring Nationals in Columbus, Ohio. At the Budweiser Spring Nationals at National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio. I'm Dave McClelland along with Steve Evans, and this huge crowd certainly enjoying the action. Steve is still back in the pits at the Kenny Bernstein area.
No one can remember the last time there was a serious problem with the engine in Kenny Bernstein's funny car, especially one serious enough to prevent the car from even staging. Dale Armstrong, crew chief, what caused all that smoke?
Well, Steve, an exhaust valve seat looks like that's what happened anyway. We're taking the head off now to see, but apparently an exhaust valve seat fell out of the head.
And shot right out of the header pipe?
Yeah, we were up there in the line, and it started smoking when he was backing up, and I really didn't know for sure what had happened, but when he came back there near the starting line, this valve seat come flying out of the pipe. So
what could have happened had you run the car in that condition?
Well, what happens with one of these things, when that shrapnel starts going around inside the motor, it'll pass from side to side under the blower, and if you try to run it, there's a real risk of those parts that are flying around in there getting under an intake valve seat, and if that happens, it'll blow the blower off or blow the body off. You know, you just can't run it when something like that happens.
No wind light is more important than the safety of that driver.
Oh, yeah, so it was never a thought of running it.
Thanks.
Okay.
On the starting line, it's time for the semifinal round of Pro Stock Eliminator. These cars have tremendous fan appeal. They are the factory hot rods. One of the reasons why is they started life as a factory production line vehicle. Jerry Ekman is confronted with the problem of racing the hottest driver in the Pro Stock circuit today. That is Butch Leal. Ekman from Ventura, California, drives a Chevrolet Camaro. He earned the right to face Butch Leal by defeating Gary Brown in the second round of competition. For Brown at the wheel of his Oldsmobile Forenzo, the race was over on the starting line. Brown in the far lane had some mechanical problems. You can see the shower of sparks coming out from underneath the car. Ekman steadily pulled ahead and took an easy win in the second round. That set up this race with Butch Leal, who in the second round of competition defeated Lee Dean of Northeast Maryland. Driving his Pontiac Trans Am, Dean gave Leal a good race in that second round. As they approached the finish line, it was only a matter of a car length separating the two vehicles. That win by Leal in round number 2 moves him to the semifinals to race against the Camaro of Jerry Ekman. Butch Leal, the defending Spring Nationals champion. Both cars staged, lots of RPM, and a great start. Leal and Ekman, a close race. And at the finish line, by about a fender length, Butch Leal moves into the finals. 7.59 seconds, 183 miles an hour. Back at the starting line, Etta Glidden, the crew chief on her husband Bob Glidden's Ford Thunderbird, lines him up in the proper spot in the water box. Glidden is racing against the Chevrolet Camaro of Bruce Allen. Allen, driving for the team of Rare and Morrison, finished number 3 in the world last season and did so without winning a national event. Allen, in the second round of competition, raced against Kenny Delco, driving Flip Benito's Chevrolet Camaro. It was a close race between the two Camaros, but Allen in the lane nearest the camera prevailed, and that earned him the right to move into this round against Bob Glidden. Glidden, in the second round of competition, raced Stan Mizell, driving his Chevy Camaro out of Green Cove Springs, Florida. The Ford of Glidden has been the dominant car at this event, and the second round was no exception, as the Camaro of Mizell felt the sting of the Thunderbird, and Glidden advanced to the semifinals to race Bruce Allen. Chevrolet versus Ford, one of the classic struggles on any racetrack, unfolding here at the Spring Nationals. Both cars taking their time about staging. The vehicles are limited to 500 cubic inch engines, and Glidden gets the advantage at the start. He extends that advantage and takes the win, goes into the finals for another race against Butch Leal. 7.50 seconds, 185 miles an hour. Glidden will have the lane choice as he races against Butch Leal for the Spring Nationals title. Glidden has won this event 5 times consecutively. His last win came, though, way back in 1983. The first pair of our semi-finalists in Top Fuel Eliminator getting ready to do the burnouts. This is Darrell Gwynn. The burnout, heating those huge tires, getting them as hot and as sticky as possible, and that may be more important on this racetrack than any these competitors have raced on this year. This is Dick LaHaye sitting in his beautiful Top Fuel dragster, to which, as you might expect, there is much more than meets the eye.
A top fuel dragster is a lot more than just an engine and four wheels. The chassis can be an important part of its performance. Dick and Kim LaHaye and their crew have been nice enough to strip the magnesium body off of their car so that we can take a close-up look. Now, this is the lightest car in top fuel at 1,820 pounds with Dick on board. It was built by Dave Uehara in Northern California. Now, up front, you'll find a lot of the dragsters use just a straight axle welded right to the chassis. Well, Dick likes to use an A-arm style suspension. He feels he's got better control of the car when it's out of shape. Now, all of the tubing in the car is what they call chrome moly, and there's 4 different thicknesses involved. Were you to stretch this tubing end to end, it would be the length of a football field. And here's something that's kind of interesting. The shaft that goes down to the rack and pinion steering runs directly through the center of the 14-gallon fuel tank. Now, they were having problems with their earlier car braking under acceleration right here where this crosspiece is. Well, now the crosspiece is not welded. It is slip jointed so that the tubes can flex and twist within these particular joints. Now, you will not find any diagonal pieces in the chassis whatsoever until you get back to the cockpit area, and that's required by NHRA for safety. Now, if you watch this car closely, when it leaves the starting line, you'll see that it bows just about here at Dick's feet, actually raises up as much as 5 inches. That allows for weight transfer, for better traction, and also allows the front wheels to stay closer to the pavement so that Dick can steer the car. Now, every nut and bolt on this machine is either magnesium or titanium, and you would think that a throbbing 3,000 horsepower engine would be bolted securely into the car, right? Wrong. It actually just rests on the frame rails. It's held in place only by clamps like you might find on a radiator hose, except for back here. You'll find a couple of very sturdy braces, and this keeps the engine from sliding forward when the parachute is deployed or sliding back when Dick leaves the starting line.
Dick LaHaye put all that technology to work when he came in as the #1 qualifier here at the Spring Nationals. Now in the semifinals, he's confronting 25-year-old Darrell Gwynn. Neither one of these drivers has won this Spring Nationals championship in years past. And it is Darrell Gwynn smoking the tires. The racetrack strikes again, but not to Dick LaHaye. Another new track record, quicker yet. 5.37 seconds at over 260 miles an hour. Maybe that trick car that Steve showed us does make a difference on this tricky racing surface. Kim LaHaye, the crew chief on the car, and her brother Jeff exchanged a high five, acknowledging the record-shattering performance of their father.
Well, the Glidden boys aren't the only family that can high-five on the starting line. Your son and your daughter just did that when they saw a new record on the scoreboard.
Again?
Again.
What did they run?
37.
Oh, my God. Thank the Lord. I'll tell you what. What a summer. I mean, what a whole year.
Terrific.
Thanks, Steve.
Dick LaHaye sounding a bit overwhelmed by the performance of his car. These two drivers, Joe Amato in the near lane and Gary Ormsby, may be a bit overwhelmed by that performance also. Neither driver has come close to the 530s all day long. For Amato, he lost the lane choice. Ormsby earned it in the previous round, and he took the lane furthest from the camera. He has just seen a 537 in that lane, but we've seen all day long this track provide problems in both lanes. And Amato smokes the tires. Ormsby begins to pull ahead. An engine explosion for Amato. As he brings it to a safe stop, Gary Ormsby wins the race and moves into the final round to race against Dick LaHaye. As we look again, you see lots of smoke coming off the tires of Joe Amato's car. And then disaster in the engine department. A huge ball of flame indicating a possible supercharger explosion. From another angle, as the car approaches the finish line, you see the huge ball of flame as the engine explodes. For the first time this season, Joe Amato will not be in the final round of Top Fuel Eliminator at an NHRA national event.
You broke my streak.
But the good-natured Joe Amato doesn't seem to let anything bother him. That sets up the final round for Top Fuel Eliminator. It will be Gary Ormsby against the new track record holder Dick LaHaye, and LaHaye most definitely having the lane choice. It's time for the semifinals of Money Car Eliminator. Dominic D.A. Santucci from Glen Willard, Pennsylvania, has definitely got upset on his mind as he takes on the hometown king, Jim Head. Both of these drivers have proved they know how to handle this tricky racetrack. What a race! Santucci with a slight advantage. But no, it is Jim Head from Columbus, Ohio, Ohio goes into the finals 5.84 seconds at 246 miles an hour. One of the closest races of the day. As we look again, leaving the starting line first is Santucci. The light goes green, then flashes to red. That means nothing. For Santucci, he's got the advantage. But Jim Head finds the horsepower that he needs to pull alongside of Santucci. And then in just the last few feet, he inches ahead. And Jim Head earns the right to move into the finals of the Spring Nationals. And you know he has to be happy to get past Santucci.
I prove to everyone you're a winner.
It was successful. It was a wonderful outing, and this is just great. Especially here to talk to you. We always see it on TV, so now it's my turn.
Come back and see us, will you?
You got it, Steve.
Okay. D.A. Santucci, what a thrill his whole crew got this weekend.
And Steve, we'll look forward to seeing Santucci in races to come. Don Prudhomme in the lane nearest the camera got the break of the event when Kenny Bernstein had mechanical problems in the previous round. Billy Meyer exploded an engine in the first round, but recovered strongly in round number 2. And Prudhomme smokes the tires. Billy Meyer hazing the tires, recovers quickly, and it's Billy Meyer into the finals. The lap time for Meyer, 5.81 seconds at 249 miles an hour. Prudhomme with a good showing, but disappointed, I'm sure. Billy Meyer will race Jim Head in the funny car final, and Meyer, by virtue of that 5.81 a lap time, has the lane choice. Back in the pit area, one racer is ready for the finals. That's Bob Glidden. He's signing autographs for his fans here in Columbus, Ohio. We'll be coming right back for his final round race against Butch Leal at the Spring Nationals. Near Columbus, Ohio, only 6 cars remain in competition out of some 650 that began qualifying several days ago. In the pit area of Gary Ormsby, the work is going on and they're removing the wing. That is not a usual between rounds procedure. We'll find out about what's going on in Ormsby's pit area in just a moment. But right now on the starting line, you hear the sound of the Pro Stock Eliminator cars getting ready for their finals. The Ford of Bob Glidden matched against Butch Leal and his Pontiac. In every final round this season, Butch Leal has made an appearance. He has won 2 NHRA national events thus far this season and currently is the points leader in the World Championship points chase. But that big number 1 on the side of the Thunderbird indicates Bob Glidden is the reigning world champ. Leal has the advantage off the starting line. Finish line, Bob Glidden and his Ford power ahead of Leal, and he moves into the Spring Nationals winner's circle for the first time since 1983. As we look again, you can see the advantage that Butch Leal had off the starting line. Much better reaction time, but very quickly, Bob Glidden and the T-Bird pulls alongside and then ahead to win by more than a car length. The victory by Glidden, a tribute to the family operation, his wife Ella, along with sons Rusty and Billy.
Bob Glidden sheds the fireproof jacket. You've won it. You know, this one had your name all over it all day. You were just running consistently quicker than anybody else.
You know, Steve, I thought that too, and Butch came up to me just before we got ready to run, and he said, you see that bike, Bob? He said, I'm going to ride off with it. You know, the fine people from Suzuki are giving the bike to the Pro Stock winner, and I said, oh my gosh. Out of all the years we've raced for a Suzuki motorbike, I've never won one of these races. So he was trying to put the jinx on me, I think, and finally we wore it off. So, you know, we need to thank the fans that come and support us and the people from Ford and Motorcraft for carrying us through this race.
Well said, and Canetta right on the back.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Steve.
You bet. Thank you. Bob Glidden just dominated today.
The winningest driver in all of drag racing history, Bob Glidden, receiving congratulations from Butch Leal, a smile on both their faces. And our funny car final is ready on the starting line. Billy Meyer has not tasted victory since way back in 1984 when he won the Grand Nationals in Canada. For Jim Head, it was the 1985 Cajun Nationals, his last and 3rd national event win. Thus, we've got 2 very hungry drivers on the starting line. It's a green light start. The light quickly flashing to red, but it's a good race. And Billy Meyer moves on to take the win. Billy Meyer, the Spring Nationals champion back in the victor's circle once again. The crew overjoyed with the performance. A fine 584 at 251 miles an hour. Look at the light. As the two cars leave the starting line, the lights go green. Then for some reason they flashed to red, but it was a green light start for Billy Meyer. And about half track has to shut off, and Meyer goes on to take the big win at the Spring Nationals with more than respectable performance.
584 elapsed time. It wanted to smoke the tires there for a second.
I did the same thing it did last round, except this time I went to the center line. I thought maybe I got near it. And I saw him the whole time. He must have been real close. I don't know what happened at the other end, but to half track, I saw him right out of the corner of my eye.
Mm-hmm. When you see them, they're dangerous.
Yeah, you don't ever want to see anybody, and I'm just glad for my guys. It's been 2 years with them.
Congratulations again for all of you. Billy Meyer, Spring Nationals champion.
Back in the pit area, a very patient Dick LaHaye looks on as his family crew prepares his top fuel dragster for the final round race against Gary Ormsby. This is normal maintenance, nothing unusual here. It happens between every round in these top fuel race cars. The final confrontation, the last race of the day, in just a moment. At the Budweiser Spring Nationals at National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio, tens of thousands of enthusiastic drag racing fans have conquered the 90-degree heat and high humidity for this race, the final round of Top Fuel Eliminator. Gary Ormsby from Roseville, California, in his newly revamped Top Fuel dragster, making it to the final round to race against Dick LaHaye. This marks Ormsby's first final round appearance since the 1986 Cajun Nationals when he was runner-up. But since he made the conversion from the Streamliner to the more conventional car, Ormsby has served notice. He's definitely one to look out for. And here's the man that will be watching intently and doing his best to defeat Gary Ormsby. This is Dick LaHaye, holder of the track record here, set just a round to go at 5.37 seconds. LaHaye's a member of the Larry Minor racing team. That has given LaHaye the confidence and the backing necessary to run the quick times regardless of the racetrack. Remember, we told you earlier there was some strange maintenance going on Gary Ormsby's car. They were taking the wing off. Steve Evans had a chance to stop by earlier and found out why.
Quote Lee Beard, the crew chief on this Gary Ormsby car, "We are going to give Dick LaHaye a race. They're not going to do it by taking power out of the car to not smoke the tires. It's going to slow up. They're not going to do it by making more power. It's just going to smoke the tires harder. What they are going to do is to replace the entire rear end assembly. The assembly that goes back in this car will have a higher gear and hopefully will not smoke the tires with the same available power. That's the plan here."
Ormsby and Beard trying every trick they know to master this very difficult racing surface. A final check by the crewman as Gary Ormsby approaches the starting line. In the far lane, it is Dick LaHaye. He has this surface mastered. He has a 5:37, a track record best to his credit. But as we have seen all day long, the upset has been the norm. Both drivers creeping cautiously into the light beams stretched across the starting line, indicating to starter Buster Couch they're ready. And Ormsby with a little bit of tire smoke, but he recovers quickly. Not quick enough. The power of Dick LaHaye, 5:35, another new track record at over 260 miles an hour. Dick LaHaye, the Spring Nationals champion, does it by defeating Gary Ormsby in resounding fashion. With an advantage built up by better traction at the starting line, Dick LaHaye moved on to take a big victory at the end of the quarter mile, his second consecutive win.
What a perfect way to cap a honeymoon for Dick and Claudia LaHaye. Married 1 week ago, a new track record. Most importantly, the title is yours at 5:35.
Thank you very much, Steve. I just thank the Lord. I mean, can you believe this whole weekend? It's just been unbelievable. And I really want to take this opportunity to thank Anheuser-Busch for putting the money up and supporting this race so that the Miller American car could win it.
And just when you think things are over at the Spring Nationals, they just begin. In jet cars, that is. Two of the great exhibition vehicles of championship drag racing, the jet-powered funny cars. In the far lane is Roger Gustin. In the lane nearest the camera with his jet car is Lou Saddlemeyer. Let's watch. Pure jet engines providing the motive power for Roger Gustin and Lou Saddlemeyer. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClelland saying so long from Columbus, Ohio. The executive producer of Diamond V Sports is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. The 1987 Spring Nationals have been brought to you by Quaker State. Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.